Which word of the day? Today's word is planeswalker, noun. In the storyline of Magic the Gathering, planeswalkers are among the most powerful beings in the multiverse. A planeswalker's spark is a latent power inborn into a very small number of sentient creatures, which, if activated, permanently turns the bearer into a planeswalker, which grants them the ability to travel between the planes of the multiverse.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series. This is episode 21, but it is not book 21. This is an unnumbered book, Seasons of the Witch. It is the first novella collection, and has 3 short stories, so we will be doing the format a little bit differently this episode, and we'll go over each story individually and give our thoughts on each story right after that particular story, and then move on to the next one. But we have a lot to cover before that, so let's get into it. I did receive a new review. This is the first review I've gotten in 4 months, and this is from Apple Podcasts. 5-star review, again, another one, or a perfect score. It says, Charmed Geekery at its best. The enthusiasm of Kevin and his guests is contagious. It's impossible not to fall in love with the world of Charmed when we see it through their eyes. From Mr. Mock Turtle, which is actually a very talented artist who I have life modeled for. He's drawn me in life modeling sessions, and he's great. So thank you. And now I have to reveal the best Baddie ranking results voted by you guys on Instagram. I tried it on Twitter. It didn't work so well on Twitter, but the Instagram results are in, and here we go.
Seems almost anticlimactic after all this time, doesn't it?
It was the only way to get their powers.
And now I want yours.
Darkest forces, let it be. Hear my plea, bring life to me.
You can't run! Frozen! In fear!
Best Baddie! Now, the way I did this was I posted stories on Instagram, and I had a picture that I kind of searched for or scrounged around for that fit the particular baddie, and I posted them with a poll on each picture on Instagram, and then we tally the votes from there. So I'm going to quickly go over them. We had 17 baddies. So 17th was Formless Possessor Demon from Spirit of the Wolf. 16th place was Call from Spirit of the Wolf. 15th place was Malvolio de Vermis from Between Worlds. 14th place was Timothy McBride from Mirror Image. 13th place was Ray Marino from Mist and Stone. And 12th place was Scar from Mist and Stone. And I liked them both a lot higher. They were a lot higher on my list. They didn't even make the top 10 here. So interesting. 11th place was Lupercalis from Date with Death, the wolf guy. So now we're getting into the top 10 based on the votes. And so 10th place was Hop Tith from Shadow of the Sphinx with 20 votes. I guess she was a cool, badass chick, so people liked her. 9th place was Athulok, and was from our first round of books that carried over. He was the wind demon that was not Shax. He had 21 votes, and he was in Beware What You Wish. 8th place was Taryn, Tessa, and Tina with 22 votes. They're from Something Quick This Way Comes, and they were the power of 3 blonde girls, witches that were stealing powers from other witches. 7th place was Gabrielle, and she was also from the first round of books. She actually was number 1 last set of books, and here she's number 7th place with 23 votes. Voodoo Moon. 6th place was Vandalus from Garden of Evil with 24 votes, and he's the philanthropist garden guy that trapped Paige. 5th place was the Anubai Demons from Something Wicked This Way Comes with 27 votes. So, and I partially think it's because I had a really awesome picture for them on there. I mean, looking at the picture, they were really cool demons, and I think they probably would have moved up higher on my list if I saw them like that too. So, yeah, Anubai Demons, I see it. 4th place was Kevin, Karen, and Kate, my number 1. They got 4th here with 31 votes from Dark Vengeance. And here we go with our top 3. Jeremy Burns with 36 votes from The Power of 3. Second place was The Source from Charmed Again with 50 votes. And number 1 was Shax from Charmed Again with 51 votes. So obviously we have a preference for baddies that appeared on the actual show. I don't know if it's because people don't know the books or they're not listening to the podcast or what, but they like the show Demons more. But I do think it's fascinating that Shax beat out The Source because that is something that I definitely agree on. So yeah, number 1 is our Shax. So because I'm changing the rules for this round, only the first place spot is going to move on to the next set of books. And so Shax is moving on, and he's going to be our guy. Okay, so this is Words of the Witches, episode 21. My guest this week is like one of my oldest friends ever in the world.
I would say longest friend. Oldest sounds like I'm
true.
Old.
Longest friends.
Ooh.
Steven Eifler, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for meeting me. I never see you anymore.
Yeah, it's partly pandemic related, but yeah, I was thinking about it. I haven't seen you in person in a long time.
I know.
Probably over a year now.
Yeah. You knew me for a long time. You knew me right at the peak of all this charm.
Yeah, when you were seriously crazy charm freak.
What are like some of your like memories of that time?
I remember you always reciting episodes, like word for word. And I remember you storing everything for your old website and then losing it all and then getting it back. And you went through some stuff at that point.
I remember like crying. Like,
yeah,
in the corner.
You weren't happy. Back before we could just like put it on the cloud or something.
Right. I had all the files on my computer.
And it was even more impressive because you couldn't access most of the... You would have had to scrounge around the internet to even find...
Yeah.
You couldn't watch the TV show online or anything like that.
Yeah, once it aired, that was it.
Yeah.
You know, there were some fan sites that had clips and everything, and that's what I did. And then there's a website that had the trailers for every episode.
Charmed is one of my favorite TV shows, and I'll admit I haven't watched it in probably like 8 or 9 years. But I only went through season 6 maybe, because it actually started to air at the same time The Simpsons was
I remember.
on. And I was actually recording it for a while on VHS. So again, it shows you how long it's been. But the show ended 15 years ago.
Yeah, 2006.
Like, that blows my
mind. Have you ever
bit.
watched the later seasons? Have you watched 7 and 8?
So I ended up finishing them later on Netflix. Like I said, probably 8 or 9 years ago, and that's the last.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I finished them. But I was like, it's my favorite TV show, or one of my favorite TV shows, and yet I haven't even finished all of it.
And what's crazy is when I met you, I usually ask people how they discovered Charmed, but I know how you discovered Charmed.
Yeah, it was your fault.
I think I was probably going on about it, and you started in season 2, in the middle of season 2.
Yeah.
And then you impressed me because you went back and you read the scripts.
I'm so glad. I actually wrote on a note because I was thinking about that. I did. I managed to find all the scripts for season 1. So I read the entire first season before I even
before you saw them. Yeah.
Yeah. I
remember that, and I thought that was so crazy and so cool, and I was like, yes.
Because I'll be honest, because I knew my older sister watched it, and I didn't think much of it. But when I actually started to watch it, I was like, whoa, I really like this show.
Do you remember what the first episode you saw was?
See, this is where it's bad because I used to know, and I don't.
Yeah, I just know it was in season 2, but I can't remember what your first episode
I think if I saw the name or like pictures from it, I would know.
Okay.
I'm actually embarrassed I don't remember because I used to, like, if you asked me this 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be like, it was this episode, but no.
And you know my siblings and how crazy they are right now, but like, if you had to assign each of my siblings to a specific sister, how would you...
Well, no, because you know what? I always felt that they know who your siblings are, right? Can I say?
I mean, you can say who. They kind of know, but not really know.
Okay,
so.
Well, Sarah always saw as Phoebe, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the youngest thing. It just she had that kind of free spirit thing. So yeah, we're kind of on the same page as that. And the way I always saw Nicole would be more like Prue. You knew. I mean, I know Nicole, but we weren't as close as like Sarah or Brian or. But yeah, that's how I would go with them.
Yeah. And so what about me and Brian? Those are trickier.
They are, because you mean for one of the sisters.
Yeah.
I could see Brian being Paige.
Okay.
And you being Piper. Because you always had that kind of balance that Piper did, and then she assumed the older sister role too. And Brian was always like, I don't want to say black sheep, because we were all close, but he always felt like Like, if you told me he was part of a different family, I'd believe that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really crazy because, like...
I mean that in the best way.
Yeah.
In case he's...
No,
I don't...
No, yeah, I know.
I love you, Brian.
But I always feel like... Because Piper always, like, idolized Prue, and so Prue's, like, always my favorite sister. But I'm, like, I'm not as Prue-like. Nicole is very much Prue-like. And so, like, because I idolized Prue so much, or Piper idolized Prue so much, and I kind of, like, see some of Nicole's, like, protective traits and everything.
Yeah, that's where I was going, because I feel like Nicole would throw a punch, you wouldn't, and that's kind of the difference there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to understand both sides. I don't, like, go into confrontation unless I really have to. Mm-hmm. And so, I always try to, like, be the mediator.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny because I always related to Piper on that because I was kind of that in mine.
Yeah.
None of us were throw punch type people, but if I would fit one of the roles, it would have been Piper.
Yeah. I think of your family too as like Prue, Piper, Phoebe, Stephanie, Prue, Piper, and Catherine, Phoebe. Cause it's worked out that way. But yeah.
I could see that.
Nicole's like the half sister, but because she's older, it kind of changes the balance and everything. It's kind of fun to think about. I think it's cool.
Obviously, I've thought.
Ding! Your phone is dinging in my podcast.
Yeah, it probably heard that. That's what I meant by noise destruction. It's funny because usually it's on vibrate.
Yeah, we're recording live in person this time. This is a little unusual. I haven't done this since the first episode.
It makes
of
it
this
so much
podcast.
more exciting.
I know, crazy. It's like I can talk to you. I can look at you right here. I can slap you on the hand if I want to.
Oh!
I met you in third grade.
Yeah, technically. I always kind of forget about that.
I know.
We've still been close friends more than 20 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But then 1999 is when you came to my school officially, and we were like...
Man, that was a good time.
Good times.
Yeah. So, Charm came on Thursdays until when?
Well, first season it was on Wednesdays.
Okay, so that was...
Before you started watching.
Yeah.
But Thursdays when you started, yes.
The big thing was Thursday night watching Charm, because to me that was almost like... I don't know why. Friday at OLS, so that was...
Our school, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much you've already mentioned it, because I'm a dumbass and have not watched all of it.
James Mansfield went to OLS too.
Does he want you guys to know that? Yeah.
Surprise, yeah. We all went to the same school, yeah.
Yeah. Thursday night, Charmed. So, Kevin, you're usually one of the first people there.
Like at school or where?
At school, right? Because I'm assuming your dad dropped you off before work, and that's why you're actually there before everybody. So we talked about Charmed. Mm-hmm. And even though we technically only had like maybe 15, 20 minutes before we started, that's like forever. We get the water cooler thing. We get to talk about it and discuss our theories.
And that's something to be said about like the weekly format, because now people binge. Having the freedom to like, you see something and you have to wait a week, it gives you the opportunity to like really like analyze it.
It really does.
And think about it.
And well, I noticed they're doing that. And I know people are complaining about what other shows
and like
that
Disney
come
Plus,
out. And not even that, or like, and I think they realize that format actually, people ingest, they get excited about the next one, and that's the same thing with the Mandalorian. The binge watch format, they also make shows for it, so it feels like one episode or one big movie, which can be fine. But I miss that individual episode. Like if I talk about an episode, that it's this one.
Mm-hmm. It helps you break it down in your mind.
Cliffhanger in season 3 always got me. That was where I understood what a cliffhanger was. Yeah. Like I was like, I can't believe this, and I can't believe how long that summer actually felt.
It felt so long.
And you already knew all the stuff, even.
Well, I remember like we were in 7th grade at the time, and I remember your older sister Stephanie going like, "They're gonna kick Prue off the show." I'm like, "What?" Like Prue's leaving the show, and like,
she didn't like her.
I know she didn't like her because season 3 especially was very much a Prue season. She was tired of it always being about her, and I used to resent that. But looking back, I can see the argument for that. I mean,
she would have been the star, I guess. Yeah. If there was a star to the show, it was her, right?
Right. She was the most notable at the time. But yeah, like she was like, "Oh, I hate Prue," and I was like, "No, I love Prue." But she was like really excited, and I
find that ironic because her and Prue had so many
things in common. I know. We're gonna get started with this book
that I haven't read.
That you haven't read. I know. I didn't think you would read it, but then I'm like, you're a librarian. Can't you get this book?
Yeah, I could have, and I thought about maybe I should just, but I don't know if I had enough time.
I may not be an explorer or an adventurer or a treasure seeker or a gunfighter, but I am proud of what I am. And that would be, I am a librarian.
You gotta do, I am a librarian.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Talk about nostalgia.
Yeah, that was The Mummy for those who don't know.
Yeah, if you don't know. 22-year-old movie.
Oh my goodness. This book we're going to do is called Seasons of the Witch, Volume 1. And this is different than the other books we've done so far in this series because this is the first ever Charmed novella collection, which is 3 short stories instead of one big epic story. This is technically not a numbered book. Most of them are saying this is book whatever. This doesn't have a number. It's just kind of in order of release. This came out.
Okay.
So
does the one after it's numbered?
Yeah. So the one after this next is technically the 21st book.
21st, but so and this doesn't count.
The cover is like split into quadrants, and it has like a wheel of the year on there, and it's got Phoebe in like the Samhain year, Paige, and she has like an auburn color, and it has Paige in her season. These are season 5 pictures as well, and Paige is in blue for Yule, and then Piper's on the bottom in green for Imbolc, which are Sabbats in Wicca.
Say you know enough about it. That's actually cool because you can actually like.
Yes, because Charmed made me very interested in
Yeah,
Wicca.
I do remember that. Even I was like going to a Catholic school and stuff. Wicca, other religions are kind of bad. Again, they can't see me air quote, but and Wiccan was always like, oh, that's the devil thing, and then you realize no, very much not.
Yeah, I read about it and I learned so much about it, and I was like, hey, this is actually not
and
that bad.
even me, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
Again, I kind of ironic, but I was like, no, I always respected Wicca.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I remember at the time I was just like, I'm Wiccan and stuff.
I know, I do. To be honest, it was great because you did the spells and the candles and.
And the thing is, like, I've learned because I've become educated on it. I know a lot, and I realize I can't be devout to any religion right now.
I know. No, that's just
so.
Yeah.
You can be a witch without being Wiccan, and you can practice magic without being it.
Well, I always felt that religions in general were like guidelines to things anyway, and people could choose what suited them, their spirituality, I should say.
So
and this is coming from an atheist,
right? Put down your pipe and smoke it. And it says Seasons of the Witch Volume 1, which the Volume 1 is curious because
does that mean they're putting another one out?
Well, that's what I always thought. I thought, does that mean they're going to try to do other seasons, other volumes?
Wait, I have a question. Are these books done then? They're not.
Oh yeah, they've been done.
Okay, so it's not something that's an ongoing.
These came out, 20 years ago. These started in 1999.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah, I was getting.
I should have known that by the way they designed the cover. There.
Yeah, this one came out in October 1st, 2003. So this.
Oh man, you guys should petition because they're gonna do more.
Right. I mean, but I used to have these books pre-ordered. I would order them all the time and have them ready to go. So, but I read this in 2003 when it came out.
Very nice.
And all these books, a lot of these books that we're reading again, I read when I was 13, 12, 14 and stuff. So it's funny to look back.
It's like a blast from the past.
But yeah, Seasons of the Witch Volume 1, 3 seasons, 3 sisters, 3 stories, and then the back says The Witching Hours. Samhain, 10/31 or Halloween, traditionally a time to reflect, a time of divination, and a time to honor the ancients. But Phoebe's plans to communicate with her ancestors are cut short when she's recruited to help reunite a star-crossed magical couple. And then Yule, 12/22, or the winter solstice, and the longest night of the year. And when Paige enters an all-night party at a local club, she finds herself at the center of an evil plot to bring about permanent midnight. And then Imbolc, 2/1, February 1st, a time when the earliest hopes for spring are fostered and seeds are planted for dreams for the coming summer months. But Piper can't look toward the future and having children with Leo when her half-whitelighter, half-witch sister's powers are on the fritz. Is a hybrid baby destined for doom? So made me think they would have done a Volume 2 and a Volume 3, and I wonder if that was part of the plan, but...
I think because this whole 3 theme that's very obvious would make perfect sense.
Yeah. So, but I couldn't find anything about any plans that were made or anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you scoured the internet seeing if they were using like a...
Because this is Samhain, Yule, and Imbolc. They could have done with Ostara, Beltane, and Letha, and then Lugnasa and Mabon. Those are the 8. So and this was published October 1st, 2003, and there's 3 different stories. They're all by a different author, technically. Well, the first and the third story are by Laura J. Burns, and then the second one is by Emma Harrison. So because this book is a little bit different than the others, I'm going to go over each story separately, and then we'll react to that story, and then we'll do the second story, react to that. So,
okay.
Because you haven't read this book, you're just going to get the story from me and how it happens. And
I almost feel like that's better in this sense, because your descriptions and details that you know about all of this.
Okay.
When is this supposed to be taking place in the series?
Yes. So there's Season 5 pictures on there, but it actually takes place in Season 4.
Okay.
And it doesn't give you a real timeline, just this Season 4, but if you think about the holidays, the Sabbats that are in there, you think Samhain's around Halloween time. This is going to be around
so that you could
December.
kind of pinpoint where it is based on the episode.
So, October, December, and February in Season 4, 2001, 2002.
continuity errors that you find? Do you point those out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the main points of the podcast.
Okay, because that's actually the fun stuff, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
We'll go with this one. This is the first one. Is Samhain, written by Laura J. Burns. So it starts off with Phoebe. She is tending to trick-or-treaters, and she teaches Paige about Samhain. So she's like, this is what it's all about. It's about the ancestors and, the ghosts and the veil's the thinnest and stuff. And then Phoebe tells Piper that she wants to perform a spell to talk to the dead. Just because. It's like, it sounds like a fun time to do that. Why not?
Of course. All Hallows Eve.
Yes. Phoebe gets Piper and Paige to agree to summon an ancestor. So they don't know who it's going to be yet. They're just going to, we'll see who we get. But Phoebe hopes for Prue.
It's like a roulette of we don't know what this ancestor is going to be. That seems...
I know.
Dangerous?
You have hope that your past family is benevolent and really helpful for you, but who knows who you had for your family. Yeah. You could have had a witch that turned evil and just left your family.
What if it was like a Nazi wish?
Yeah.
Or something like... I don't even know if they've touched on anything like that.
No.
Okay, that would be interesting.
Yeah, so so they perform the spell, and then Phoebe sees a woman beyond the veil calling her. She's like this little mist, and she's like, oh, I see you. And they touch. And then Phoebe can all of a sudden hear the woman's voice in her head. And she's like, oh, I hear your voice in my head. Where are you? And then it cuts to another undisclosed location. And a servant tells his master that the witch's pendant is glowing with power, and the master is shocked. So some evil people somewhere are just like, there's that necklace that I've been saving, and now it's glowing. I'm like, what? So...
what's funny is I can picture all of this with the effects in, the charm effects.
They do a good job of really painting that picture for you.
That's cool. At the time, it wasn't nostalgic, though.
Right.
This was just what was happening.
This is just what was happening, yeah.
Anyway.
Leo sensed something strange when the spell was cast, and he's stressed about the dangers. He's like, something doesn't seem right. Phoebe hears the voice in her head again and it instructed her to look in the mirror. So she looks in the mirror. And Phoebe can see the reflection of the woman from the attic that touched her. And she's in the mirror. So obviously she's in her body, in her head now.
Okay.
And she tells her that her name is Pamela Bousquet.
Bousquet?
Or Bousquet. Maybe.
That's
Bousquet.
French?
Yes. She said she's from the French Revolution. Yeah.
Okay.
So Pamela Bousquet. And she's an ancestor that crossed over into her body, and she wants Phoebe to help her free her demon husband from a spell. Go figure.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I came back to save my husband because I have senses of things. So Cole arrives now, and he's in Phoebe's room, and he grabs Phoebe's waist, and he's like, oh, hello, lovely. And she's like, slap! Because Pamela instinctively took over Phoebe's body, and then Cole's like, you don't touch me, I don't know you, stranger. And then Cole is confused, especially since Phoebe seemed to be having a conversation with herself. She's talking to herself and answering her own questions. And Pamela reveals herself in the mirror for Cole. She's like, go to the mirror. And then he can see the other lady's reflection in the mirror.
Interesting.
Pamela tells them that the demon Colmore was married to her for 10 years because of a love spell that she put on him. So apparently, he was a demon that killed all these witches. And to save her life, she cast a love spell on him.
Okay.
So he fell in love with her. And then she's eventually fell in love with him in real life.
It makes Cole an interesting part of this dynamic.
It does. I think they're trying to throw those parallels in there.
Wait, I know. See, this shows you how long it's been. When did they find out about him being Balthazar?
Season 3.
It was, so they already know about all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and at this point in the book, Balthazar has been vanquished. He's human. Even though that technically happened in November and this takes place in October.
Oh, continuity error.
Continuity error, yeah. But he is human in this. Okay, so... it's the only way to stop him from killing me and other witches. And then she's like, but I fell for him in real life. So, it was great. The evil people we saw with the necklace from earlier, the servant helps the master track the witch he was looking for. And they located her in the manor attic. So, they kind of where's this witch that made this glow? And they find her that she's actually at Hallowell Manor. So, okay. Pamela is determined to free her demon husband from the spell because she thinks, evil is coming for him. And she had, a vision of him being vanquished tonight. So... we have to remove him from the spell so that he will protect himself. Because if he doesn't, he won't defend himself because his love for me made him good. So he won't defend himself now. But if you take the spell off, then he'll attack. That's her rationale.
Okay. Interesting rationale.
Yeah, it's strange. The girls think that reverting him, Colmore, to his demon-killing ways is not a good thing. And then Pamela took control of Phoebe and ran out of the house. And then Phoebe arrives at this fortune teller who allowed Pamela to scry for her husband, the Colmore demon. And then at the manor, the group finds a crying servant. So they hear this crash in Phoebe's room, and they see like this servant demon there, crying because he couldn't find Phoebe, and he was instructed to bring Phoebe back.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh no, my master's gonna punish me now because I didn't get Phoebe." Oh, but then they kind of wait around and then watch it return to its master. Like, I guess I better go back now. And so Paige follows him in there. Phoebe notes that Cole would rather be vanquished than become evil again, and she would be prepared to vanquish him if she was in the same situation. So Pamela's like, "Don't you understand, Phoebe? You know, you would do the same for Cole." And she's like, "No, I would not put him in a position to be evil again." So
yeah, see, this is why Phoebe was always one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Anyway,
she's like, if that was the case, we would vanquish him, and Cole would want him to be vanquished because So she's like, "You don't understand." Pamela's powers, because as a witch, she had powers of telepathy and invisibility.
So that kind of all kind of makes sense then.
Yeah.
What we're seeing,
but because of the way the spell is, or maybe the spell of Samhain, her powers are active in Phoebe's body right now.
Okay.
But she also said that her powers were in the necklace. She said she put her powers and she made them like alive in the necklace. So maybe that's part of why they're still active too.
Yeah. Interesting.
So something like that. Pamela calls for Calmore, her demon husband, and he appeared. And then back where Paige followed the other demon, she watches as the servant demon cowered before the master demon. And then he showed the servant demon where Phoebe was. He's like, "Okay, she's over here now. Go there and get her. And don't fail me again." Paige orders back to the manor, and they deduce that Phoebe is at Madame Skipsha's, that fortune teller, because he was like, "Oh, Madame Skipsha," and Cole's like, "Oh, Madame Skipsha, we know her. She helps with the evil and the good sometimes." Because
yeah, I can hear Leo saying that too.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh yeah, we know her. She helps demons and elders." And then Phoebe explained to Calmar, since he's there at Pamela's body, she's like, "Yeah, Pamela's in here with me. Do you want to talk to her? Cool." So then Pamela talks to her husband through Phoebe. Pamela warns Calmar that evil is coming to vanquish him tonight, and he must defend himself. But because he is good, he refuses to use any powers he stole from witches in the past. And then Pamela is determined to free him of her love spell, and Phoebe is like, "No, you're not gonna." And I'm gonna run. And she runs. She takes him money and runs away. And then Madame Skipsha, everybody else, Paige and Piper and Leo and Cole, go to see her, and she's like, the servant demon was there first, and she's like, "I'm not gonna help the servant demon." And she was clearly more powerful than the demon anyway. She's like, "You can't fight me. You're nobody." Piper, Leo, and Cole arrive, and Madame Skipsha tells them what she knows, and she's like, Phoebe is in danger if that servant demon finds her. And Skipsha reveals that she is a fate meant to keep the balance, but she cannot interfere. So she just has to like watch things happen, I guess. Even though she's telling people, I don't know. Huh. It's strange, but I liked her. Phoebe arrived at the manor. She ran home, apparently, and she fought with Pamela in her head. Pamela decides to do the spell to release her husband from there. She's like, "You know, if you're not going to help me, I'm going to do the spell here." And so like fighting for control of her body. Piper and Paige join forces with Leo, and they sense Phoebe long enough to find her, so then they all are back to the manor anyway. So it's all back and forth.
Yeah.
Pamela gets aggressive and attacks Paige with a candy dish. And then Paige is like, "What kind of ancestor are you?"
Right?
Pamela performed the spell to release Calmar. She succeeded, but nothing seemed to happen. So she succeeded in casting it, but didn't really work. And then the master and the servant demon appear in the attic, like, "Ha ha ha!" And Pamela recognized the master guy immediately. She's like, "Oh, you!" And she runs. She tries to get away. And Piper tried to use the powers on the master, but they had little effect on him. They were not really working. He was adamant about getting Phoebe, though, because we learned that the master held Pamela's pendant, that necklace, and he locked her powers so that she can no longer use them now. So he stopped her from using her magic.
Okay.
Which is probably why the spell didn't work. And then the master grabs Phoebe, and then they walk into a portal. Piper finds the master in the Book of Shadows, and they find out that he can be vanquished by lava, volcano lava.
Yeah, because that's easy to come by.
Or by sending Calmar after him. So either throw him in a volcano or get this other guy.
Okay. Did Piper have her explosive powers at this point?
Yes.
And that did nothing to him?
Right.
That's impressive, because it's amazing how many demons she could just take out at that point.
Yeah, this is a pretty powerful guy. In the Book of Shadows, they have to send Calmar after him because they figure that's easier than a volcano. And they learn that they actually are mortal enemies, and if one ever wins, they both are vanquished.
Okay, then why even fight each other?
That's what they say. Like, what's the point of that?
But in a weird way, the egos of some of these, it makes sense that would be a thing, because that's what's going to happen. They're going, I'm going to fight them anyway.
Yeah, so it's been this, like, they want to fight. That's like they're in their nature to fight each other, but they don't know. they don't know that if someone wins, they get.
They don't know.
Yeah,
That actually makes it funnier.
I know. Crazy. The demons don't know that, and they're just programmed to fight. So the master is mad that he doesn't have a sparring partner anymore. So he's mad that this demon Grimoire has been turned good under a love spell. He's like, he's not fighting me. We're supposed to be like fighting each other. That's the way of the world. So you witch ruined my plans. Grimoire arrived and rescued Phoebe from the cage. So the master demon has Phoebe in a cage, and then they call Grimoire arrived to get her back because they're like, hey, get us out of this cage. She's like, I'm not going to use the witch powers I stole. No. And then Pamela's like, I give you permission. You can do it. He's like, okay.
But they're not hers to... He can't... They're not her powers, so...
No.
But so that
yeah,
that's
they're not her powers, but he doesn't want to do it because he thinks it's evil.
Which no, I get that, but like they're not her powers to let him do that with.
Right. He's like, yeah, you use those witch powers. It's fine.
It's like me, like you saying, I don't want to steal a car, and I'm like, you can take that person's car.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It doesn't...
Exactly. It's so goofy. So then the master attacks Grimoire, and the battle begins. So now they're going to fight. Piper, Paige, Leo, and Cole arrive, and then the sisters cast a spell to contain the master's power. So they put the spell on the master so that he can't use his powers outside of like a 1-foot area. So he throws a ball, it will come flying back at him, and he can't fight. But then the master stepped on the pendant that had Pamela's powers in it, and then Pamela's powers were lost in the ether. They just float away forever. But that deactivated her love spell on her demon husband.
Okay.
With that, Grimoire immediately he got more aggressive. He pinned Phoebe by the throat, and he's like, "Let me speak to Pamela." And then Grimoire tells Pamela, now that the spell's gone, he's like, "I realized I truly loved you."
See, I figured something like that was going to happen because...
Oh, God. It's like, you know what? I might have been under a spell, but I really grew to love you, too. And so, like, I loved you, too. Oh, my God. Smoochy smooch. Grimoire, he frees the master, so he gets him out of his little cage. Mm-hmm. And so he lets the master kill him. And then the master gloats that he killed Grimoire. He's like, ha, 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 ha. And then he explodes immediately. Like, both of the demons are vanquished. They send Pamela back across the veil, because they have to send her back before Halloween's over. And then the next day, Cole and Phoebe wonder if they will love forever like them. And then they say, definitely. And that's the end of that story.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on that one?
See, the funny thing is that, again, not having seen Charmed in a while, I don't remember it being corny. It's not, right? That's not just something I'm not remembering. Like, that could be retooled into a pretty good episode, I think. But you have to ditch some of the goofiness of it. Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting parts in there, but... Well, I think it's like logistic things that you're like, I don't know if that would... I did not like this story so much. I can see why. It's silly. I mean, like, I like silly things if they make sense, if they're... Well, that's more of what I meant. It was silly in a like... Yeah. That, like I said, logistics of certain things. It made me mad most of the time. I mean, it wasn't written very well. There was lots of time spent for respect for Prue's character, which I liked for a Samhain book, because Samhain's all about honoring the ancestors, honoring the dead. That was good. I liked that part. Paige sounded like an idiot whenever she talked in this book. Okay. Every time Paige talked, I thought of Karen from Mean Girls. I'm like, why does she sound so stupid? Grimoire is such a little bitch in this book, too. The story, I did not like him. He's like, oh, I love you. Get out of here. The love story is trite and laughable. I hate sappy, teeny bopper, love story, romance stuff. Yeah. I hate that stuff so much with a passion. And that's exactly what the story was. Okay. So I'm just like, ugh. Like, if you're going to do romance, I like romance if it's done well. But not when it's like this superficial. Yeah. Like, yeah. Romance is targeted at a certain audience, and they like... That's true. Especially if you're like a 14-year-old. Yeah, I'm sure that's what love is. Yeah, exactly. It's like this... No, that's like obsession and creepy. You know what I mean? It's not. The best character in this book was Madame Skipshot. I thought she was cool, confident. She didn't take any shit from anybody. That was the fortune teller. Yeah, right? She was a fortune teller. She was a cool character. Well, I was going to ask if any of the characters showed up. Like, I don't recall that character ever being in the TV series, so no, she wasn't. Okay, no. I feel like some of these books inspired episodes that came later. Okay, there's some things that just are like too close. Well, see, when once they get writing, they own it, essentially. Right. They can use it however they want. And the producers were involved. They had approved the stories of the books. I thought Pamela was a crappy representative of the Halliwell as a Halliwell ancestor. Yeah. Because she acted like a whiny teenage girl this whole book. And the book focused on everything about her. It was more about her than the actual sisters. Yeah, then that would be... Well, in a way, maybe that's okay because it's short. Yeah. so it can focus on a character that's different. I mean, if you think about it, not all the Halliwells are going to be amazing. Like,
True.
there'd be a line of them that you probably...
Yeah. And, like, the initial premise I thought was pretty interesting. Like,
yeah, that's what I meant by making it into an episode.
Yeah.
Retool some things. And like you said, you liked the fortune teller character, so she'd probably be interesting to see on screen.
Right. I did feel betrayed by the author, though, pretty quickly. Cause I'm just like, no, I can't get by this story.
Canonical.
So I have, for canonical, I have Cole was made a human in November. Meaning he should have not been one in this story. Still should have been a demon in this story. Mm-hmm. Paige would not know how to orbit to the manor yet. With the Pamela, Phoebe in the one body thing, I was having flashbacks to kind of like Paige and Henry in The Torn Identity, season 8, or when Paige was in Henry's body and they would look in the mirror and she could see Paige's reflection.
Oh, so that's what you were talking about by seeing elements come later.
Yeah. I mean, not just in this story. When you go back and listen to the podcast, you'll see some things. And now, we'll do the spells that were featured in this story.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
It's called Rhyme Time. So the first one is to summon the spirit of a warren witch. It says, Hallow, witches, hear us three. Into your world, now let us see. On Samhain, the veil is thin. Pull it back and let us in. That's a nice one. It has a good flow. It's not like mind-blowing, but I think it's nice.
Yeah. There's nothing to argue on that.
Yeah.
To reverse Pamela's love spell. A love for me I created in thee, but now I wish for you to be free. Forget your love, for it is not true. For my love spell, I now release you. It's not something that pops, but it's not something I'm offended by.
Yeah. These aren't horrible spells. They do the job.
Yeah. And I think that's what you kind of can expect from like this specifically.
Yeah. Something that could be in the show, but it's just not epic. The next one is to contain the master. This is the one that held him in his box. Like a damper to your flame, like a rope to tie your hands. Let your powers be contained until you leave these lands. No. I mean, technically it rhymes, but it's awkward to me. There's not enough syllables in less. There's not enough syllables.
Well, it wasn't that, but even when it's actually kind of like how that starts out, the dampen the flame, but then it feels awkward by the second line.
I think it does start off good, but I think it loses the syllable structure, and so the syllables don't match evenly where they should match.
So
and it needs another word in there for it to work, for it to land properly. And then the last one, pretty much a repeat of the first spell, except going back. Hello, witches, hear us three. Into our world we let her see. On Samhain, the veil is thin. Pull it back and take her in. So it's just reversing the spell to put her back in there. Cool.
Well, how would you rate them compared to spells you've heard in other books? Like, is this in the middle ground?
It's middle.
Ground? Okay.
These are fine spells. Now we're going to go into the second story, Yule. This is written by Emma Harrison, and she also wrote 2 books before this, Garden of Evil and Something Wicked This Way Comes. So she has already been established. Starts off with Paige alone in the manor cleaning. This is the Paige story. The doorbell rings, and this hot guy, Seth, is there. And he thinks Paige is the maid because she was cleaning and she's all dirty.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And she's like, oh my gosh.
I think it's funny he would think that, like, you clean your own house, usually. Like, where is this guy from that he's like, hey, you must be the maid? I'm wondering.
Some nerve.
Yeah.
Paige was insulted too in the book, which made me laugh.
But I also, the funny thing is I can hear Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, did they describe that she was wearing something that looked maid-like? Or did she just Paige being...
She was wearing some kind of, maybe she was wearing an apron or something, because she was cleaning the windows.
Okay.
She wasn't doing anything crazy, but just cleaning the windows.
Yeah, see, I would, if I went over to your place and I saw you wearing an apron, I'm like, oh, you're cooking or something.
Yeah.
I'm not going, are you the maid?
Yeah. So, but she's like, how dare you? But Seth tells Paige that he is stage managing Battle of the Bands at P3. So Piper is like busy with this Battle of the Bands thing that's going to be happening.
Ooh.
And he was like, I'm stage managing, so Piper sent me here to get her.
Did they ever do anything like that in the show?
No, actually.
I feel like that would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool. They just have lots of bands come, but they never had like a band.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Now, see, nice thing to add to the. All right. But he said, Piper sent me. She's really busy doing Battle of the Band stuff. He sent me here to grab her planner. She's like, oh, okay, well, come in here, wait there. So Paige goes to grab her the planner. He comes back and she sees Seth's eyes glow. And he wants to steal her powers. I'm a demon. Oh, I'm a warlock, whatever. So Paige battles Seth in the manor, and this is a really funny scene. I would usually talk about it, but she's just going she's like, oh, what do you really want? I was like, because she sees her eyes, goes like, okay, so what do you really want? She's like, you got power. I was like, okay, here we go. And she rolls her eyes. She's like, whatever. And so she's very nonchalant.
I love how I can see Rose McGowan doing
it was so fun. Like the attitude. She's like, oh god. So she battles him around. She's orbiting around. She's doing stuff. She throws a warlock vanquishing potion in at him. Finally, after a little bit of a tussle. And then Seth poofs. He explodes. But then the blast also explodes Phoebe's computer that's there. And sets the Christmas tree on fire. So there's Christmas in this. They're celebrating Christmas. She grabs the fire extinguisher. She's like... But this just then Piper and Phoebe walk through the door as Paige is using the fire extinguisher. She's like, what the hell is happening here? Piper and Phoebe are angry because she had her planner and he had a knife and he stabbed through Piper's planner too. So Piper's planner was destroyed. And so Piper and Phoebe are angry that their pocketbook and computer were destroyed and Paige feels ganged up on. She's like, hey, where were you when I was fighting this demon? I
like how all the stuff they needed was in that one spot together.
Like, of course, right.
Where they're fighting. Could she orb a fire off of something?
Probably. I don't think she ever did anything like that.
Would that be interesting though? Like
I remember when the Scabbard demons were out and they had like the acid liquid. She orbs the acid liquid away.
Yeah.
Back at
so something
them.
like that. Like she orbs the fire off the tree. Or...
Yeah. Right. That would have been fun. So Paige feels ganged up on it, and then Piper and Phoebe apologize to Paige, like, we're sorry, But Paige feels like she still needs the night to herself now. She's like, you know what? I need to just get out. I'm missing my pre-witch days a little bit now. I'm missing my life before I was a charmed one, and I want to get back to some of those roots. So she's like, okay, I'm going to take a step back. Paige decides that she's going to go out with her old friend Sarah to a new club called Gash. Gash, what a club name.
It feels like a very 90s thing, or early 2000s.
Gash looks very romantic goth in its decor.
Yeah.
So it's very much that very supernatural...
Blade, esque.
Yeah, very vampire-y. At the club, they say that her friend Sarah tells her that on the winter solstice, Yule, this club is going to be having a up all night party because it's like the longest night of the year. It's the shortest day of the year. That means it's the longest night of the year. So we're going to have a nice party and we'll keep you locked up in here until sunrise. And Paige is like, oh yeah, Yule. I've been researching a lot about Yule. And I'm going to read what it says because I think that's interesting. Yule was a Wicca holiday that fell on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, to celebrate the return of the light that would come as the days began to grow longer. Holly, for example, was originally hung on doors because its prickly leaves were believed to ward off evil spirits like trolls and elves, entities that got more mischievous as the dark months dragged on. Even the Christmas tree apparently originated as a Wicca tradition, which we are.
This is all actually true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew that.
People would decorate their houses with evergreens as symbols of health and immortality during the darkest, coldest days of the year. The greens were believed to protect the house's inhabitants from the elements until the sun returned. Sometime around the 11th century, the Christian religion had appropriated the tree for its own winter solstice holiday, Christmas.
Yeah.
Do you think Wiccans or witches can celebrate Christmas and Yule at the same time?
Why not?
Right. I think
it really is... culture and religion always borrow from other things, so I'm not going to get super angry about that. But yeah, it was theirs first.
Yeah.
I think Jesus' actual birthday was January, February.
Something weird, like in the summertime.
Yeah, the point is, it was later, and they kind of like took this holiday that must have been popular enough where they said, okay, we're going to use this.
I feel like Christianity at the time, they were trying to get the masses, and they're like, we don't like those pagans, so we're going to steal their thing, and whatever they think is popular, we're going to make our own thing, which, And
you realize it's like just how everything works.
Yeah.
Like, if something's not popular, it's co-opted or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting history like that.
Yeah. In one of my classes, they said culture is becoming. It's something that always evolves. I just feel that as long as you give credit to the other one, not just pretend it's yours, that's when it becomes like a huge issue, or even profit from it, which you see too. Mm-hmm. But
fascinating. There are mixed religion, families. Like if you marry someone who has a different religion than you, and they find a way to juggle the two together. And I feel like we know that they celebrated Christmas as kids when they were children, and we know that there was Christmas decorations in the basement when Piper first learned to blow things up. She blew up the Christmas decorations in the basement.
That's something like that I never really thought of, because there's a long line of witches in this, but they celebrated Christmas.
Right. And I don't know if that was something that, because Victor was a human, Victor was mortal, maybe he celebrated Christmas and they're doing it to appease him.
I feel like that, that's probably what happened in that case.
It'd be interesting to know what their history is with it, because we don't get much Christmas in the show. It's kind of hinted at.
Well, you do that because it's, you're talking about a show created in the United States.
Yeah.
So you appease that market, essentially.
Right.
But that's a good way of doing it without... Like, I never really thought about... You're right, it isn't like a focal thing ever in the show. but you always know it's when it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And this is the second book to mention Christmas in the Crimson Spell. They talk about how there was this Christmas ornament from when they were kids that they needed for this spell. So I'm like, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. But yeah.
Well, in the case of like Paige, she wouldn't have grown up like a witch at all.
No.
I mean, I don't know if they ever mention her religion in the TV show or anything. But most people just assume Christianity because, again, most common. And like, I even think about my family. I mean, I was raised Catholic, and you were too, obviously. But a lot of them aren't practicing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Christmas was part of just the tradition.
It's just a societal thing.
Yeah.
Really, at this point, like even if you're not religious, you're gonna celebrate.
No,
Christmas.
yeah, you're gonna get together with your friends or family, and you know, because I mean, it is at its core very nice holiday.
And you can celebrate Yule, you can celebrate Christmas, and you can celebrate the parts of it that are relevant to you. You don't have to do it.
But it also makes me think of how much it's even the Christmas we knew growing up wasn't the same as like our parents, so we already started doing that. We said this is the part of the holiday that we do celebrate, or this is the aspect of it that we pass on, and this is the thing that went on the wayside. So even within our own religions, that we're already changing it.
Right.
So
everyone has their own way of doing it. So interesting. Back to the story.
Yep.
The next day, Paige got in an argument with Piper and Phoebe about chores and responsibilities. You know, that happens. So Paige is like, you know what? I'm going to this up all night party now, and I'm gonna stay away from you guys.
I always loved how like when Paige came in, the family dynamic actually changed.
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's actually what would happen.
Right.
That was always a cool thing.
Yeah, because I mean, there's like a power balance because
Yeah.
before people kind of knew where they were. They knew where the place in the family because it's been just this way their whole life. That's what they knew. And now with this new one, you know, Paige was her own child. She's like, I don't know how to be sisters really.
And she was the youngest too, right?
Yes. So she's like, you know, here you go from being like in charge of yourself, not anybody to appease. You got your own thing, and all these sisters are telling you what you have to do. It's like, no, you don't you're not the boss of me. You know, oh, I am too. That was a charm quote. Anyway,
the dynamic changed, but their personalities didn't.
Yeah.
Which again, that's literally what happens in real life. Like if you've seen coworkers move up or move out, and people move around, you see that even though they're that person, but they're that person in that role. And
it's very fascinating.
Yeah, and the show is always good with that. Like the dynamics between the characters, the chemistry between them. Even if there was silly lines or something, you always felt like it was real. Like the relationship.
And that's the glue because silly storylines, whatever, the actors and the writers knew. Yeah, and that's what came through on screen.
And even though I haven't watched the new Charmed, I'm guessing that's probably what it's not gonna ever, because to get that chemistry between, it's magic, rare anyway to get in TV shows. So, but
you get me lucked out with what happened.
Oh yeah, especially since Holly Marie Combs wasn't actually, she didn't really act, right? That was kind of what she.
Well, she did Picket Fences before then. She did some movies, but
so she was established, but not.
She wasn't the big star that you know.
But you would have never known because she came in on there.
She shines.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she steals the show. People love Holly now because of her charm.
Yeah.
So
she had it.
Yes, she had that spark, and Shannon knew it. Shannon was friends with her before that. Shannon knew how talented she was, and she vouched for her, and that's part of why she got the job.
Yeah.
So where are we now? So Paige goes to the up all night party. They lock you in until morning, and Sarah takes Paige to meet the club owner, and she meets him, and she takes him back to the back room. And Silas was like smooth and sophisticated, you know, kind of charming, handsome, you know. And Sarah's like, I'm gonna leave you alone. Oh, winky face. And Silas asked, he's like, so Sarah tells me all about you, you know, and she tells me that your sister has a club called P3 and that she's my competition. So P3, that's an interesting name. What does that stand for? And then he's like, I've heard of the Charmed ones. She's like, what? And then Paige all of a sudden felt this dread. She's like, oh God, what is this guy? So she tries to escape, and then he grabs her, and he held his hand over her, and which kind of like immobilized her. She couldn't move anymore.
Ooh.
So he's like, oh, he was so smooth, and he tricked her, and he grabbed her. And then he conjured like these lights in front of Paige's face. He's like, look at the pretty lights. And it kind of, they described it as like looking like orbs, but multicolored orbs. I'm like, that would have been super pretty.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'd be like, oh my God. And that's exactly what happened to Paige. She's like, pretty light. So he held like the lights in front of Paige's face, and Paige was compelled to look. And within moments, Silas took the orbs and he like pushed them into himself. Like, whoa! And then he all of a sudden appears stronger, more energy, And Paige seems like she's drugged. So he took something from her. He took like her essence.
Yeah, I was thinking.
So and then all of a sudden this purple demon emerged out of like the corner of the room, and Silas glowed as she's like, "We have a charmed one now, master. Now that we have control of a charmed one's essence, their plan to plunge the city into darkness and their control is in motion. So now they're like, okay, we're doing it. We got darkness coming."
All because they took a charmed one?
Yes, I guess they didn't have the power before.
Interesting.
And so now Sarah comes back. She's like, Paige has been in there a long time. I'm gonna go check on Paige. And she goes like, ah! What did you do to her? And so Silence goes and he puts her and he takes her essence too. He like does his little mumbo jumbo on her, and she falls to the floor. They take Paige and they take Sarah and they put them like back in the club and they sit them down on a thing, and soon they see like the club is full of like the husks of these zombie-like people that Silas has absorbed. He's been doing this all night, one by one, taking people.
Did you get deja vu reading this? Was there a similar plot in something like Buffy or? Probably,
but yeah, she's in this room full of all these people that he absorbed, and then he took to the stage. She's like, "Hello, people." There's still some people.
Weren't they husks in Mass Effect? I know that's different, but I was actually
they are called husks.
Yeah, now I'm thinking of that too.
Yeah, Mass Effect. Good game, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Aha! And he like just made like this big ball in the room, and he absorbed anybody that was left. He absorbed their essences too. He's like, haha! I'm so strong. And then all of a sudden, vampires and demons were let loose on the crowds. He's like, because all these people are alive still. They're just kind of zombies and defenseless. So here he's like, have at him. It's me, permanent darkness. Kill who you need to kill. So Piper and Phoebe, Cole, and Leo awake to the shock that there's no sun in the morning. Like, it's morning, where's the sun? Cole confirms that only a very powerful demon could do this. Like, this is possible, but it's very rare. So
what were the elders doing? I always hate that they're like, we'll just let these bad things happen.
I know. Leo reveals that Paige is not in her room. He's like, Paige is not in her room, and he can only sense a faint glimmer from her. So he orbs to Gash. He follows the trail, and he's horrified at the scene because he tries to go heal innocents, and they're already dead, and it's really
dark.
It's a really dark.
Because I was just about to ask, are all these people actually gonna die?
Yeah, it's pretty. This is a pretty powerful scene for me. He scours for Paige. He's quiet. He's like, Paige. He finds her, and he sees her in like a trance-like state. I mean, he sees she's not right, so he grabs her and he orbs back to the manor. Tears in his eyes. He was really,
I can't believe this story followed that other one.
I know, it's so much better. So the group begins to question Paige. They're like, Paige, what's happened? Where are you? And she kind of responds. She is like, she hears things and she is answering them, but she's half asleep. So part of her is still in there. But then with the information they've been gathering from her, they learn his name is Silas, and they're like, yeah, a big purple boss, whatever. And so she's like, she remembers stuff, but she has no care about it. She's like, it's whatever, it doesn't matter. So she's very apathetic. Cole reminisces about his encounters with a low-level trickster named Silas. So he's like, that sounds familiar to me, that name. So he's like, I wonder if this is the same one. And that big purple friend she was talking about, I bet you that's the demon Noct. And if that's who I think it is, if that's Noct, you're in serious trouble because he's super strong. So Leo, he comes back from the elders and tells them that Noct's last appearance on Earth predates Melinda Warren. He hasn't been around for 500 years, and the supernatural world thought he was dead.
Ooh.
So nobody thinks he even exists, and he's just been in hiding this whole time.
That's wild.
Yeah. They say that Noct does not have bloodlust, so he has no need to kill for sport or anything, but he has a need for power. So he wants to control things, and wants to be like top dog in a crime organization or something, I don't know. But by working with Silas, they intend to make humanity a slave race.
Oh.
I know, it just keeps getting better and better. Oh my gosh.
This could have been an episode.
Piper finds an entry in the Book of Shadows about restoring an essence, and they say the only way to do that is to shock a person into caring about something, and the longer that they go, without being connected to the essence, the harder it's going to be to do that. So on the street, they're in the attic, and on the street in the manor, Phoebe sees a woman about to be killed by this demon called a Slivash demon, which is a made-up demon, but a Slivash demon. So Piper's like, you know what, I got an idea. So she freezes the scene and she grabs Paige. She's like, come look at us fight this demon. Maybe that will jog you into fighting for something. So she's like, they have Leo and Cole hold Paige up to watch while Phoebe goes after the demon and Piper goes after the girl, and they're gonna try to just show the battle. She unfurls the street, and amidst the fighting, the innocent got grazed by an energy ball. So she got hit by one of the energy balls.
I always wondered about the properties of those two, because I feel like you could just get hit with one and your whole body could...
Right.
They'd all get destroyed, so like...
They have different wattage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so higher voltage ones would probably disintegrate you right away, where other ones would just kind of give you a zap.
Okay, yeah.
So if the chick got grazed and fainted, Paige remained the same, She was like, Paige, do you see that? Oh, whatever. She's not doing anything. So she just flipped the demon. They set Paige in front of the TV. They put her back in the manor, and she remained apathetic and loopy. But she cracked me up. Cole's like poking her and just keep testing her reactions. It's like
I can see Julian McMahon doing that too.
It was so funny. It was so perfect. I mean, he's just like, here's my little toy on Paige. I'm just gonna poke her and see what happens. Just then, Noct and Silas shimmered into the living room and attacked. And they were hella strong because they just like tossed Cole out the window, tossed Leo out the window. They just tossed him with nobody. Powers are useless against them. Piper tried to blow him up, tried to freeze him. They're like, psh, if you can't get me.
That's the scary part.
Yeah. So they grab her arms and hold her, and Phoebe's like knocked out at this point too. They knocked Phoebe out, and Piper's like, Paige, wake up! And she's like, I'm awake. Why does everybody keep saying that? And so they take Piper and Phoebe away, and Paige just sits there while Leo and Cole are like knocked out too. Because they want to get Piper and Phoebe's essences now too, so they take them.
It just kind of shows how much stronger their essences are than just a normal.
Right.
Because it just took one charmed one, and he could do all that.
I know.
That's wild.
I mean, on top of all the other people, I suppose.
I always know that they're supposed to be stronger witches, but I always thought that was because they were three, not just that individually their essence was that much stronger than...
Yeah.
Okay.
Leo comes to. He heals Cole right away. And senses Piper, and then they take Paige and they orb to the demon's lair. Cole forces Paige to look into Phoebe's eyes, and they're like, there's your sister, as Phoebe's essence is about to be taken. And as she watched Phoebe, like, in terror, her warmth started to return to her, and her essence erupted out of Silas. She's like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Ah!" And it came back into her, and she's like, "Whoa!" And now Paige is like, "Whoa! I got energy!" And she's like leaping into battle. She's like, "I'm a superhero. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm kicking every ass." Like, she's so good. So she frees Piper and Phoebe, like, be free. So after with Piper free, she blew up Silas like nothing. She's like, bye, bitch. And Phoebe wrote a Power 3 spell. Before they were captured, she had a Power 3 spell for Noct, so she had it ready to go in her back pocket.
Good old Phoebe.
Yeah. And so they vanquish Noct. They say the Power 3 spell and vanquish Noct. And then it cuts to Christmas morning, and they're opening presents. And Phoebe gets a new laptop. Like, hey, yay! And Piper got a new Palm Pilot, fancy planner.
I think that's funny. Palm Pilot.
Yeah, Palm Pilot. I know. It's dated. I know. And then Paige got a spa day. Like, here you go, relax. And Paige feels super loved and appreciated, and that's the end of that story.
See, that was good. Even just when you summarized it.
You can tell how my energy was different.
Well, yeah, but it also shows it's good because your energy is different, and how you absorbed it. You're like, that's why this is good.
Yeah.
But even like some of the simple stuff you mentioned, that even how they structured it, they bookended it with the coming back to the laptop, get her again. Like, yeah, and I can picture this even more so than the other one I could kind of picture, but like with the dialogue and what you've told me, I could see and hear that so much clearer than, and that would be a great episode.
Yeah, this was such a good story. I thought it was action packed and funny and cute. I thought the pacing was really perfect. Like, I never felt it lulled or dragged on. And it was, Christmas at the Manor, which was cool. We never see that ever.
Yeah, I wonder if it was easier. Who'd you say the writer was?
Emma Harrison.
She only had to write 60 pages or whatever it is. She was able to like briskly go about and do this story.
The Seth battle at the beginning was hilarious to me because Paige was so nonchalant, rolling her eyes when she realized he was a world. She's like, "What do you want?" Moved into the kitchen. She's like, "I just cleaned this place." So she was really funny in that beginning. Just like, yeah, this is my life now. I could feel the characters in the story, the dialogue and mannerisms described the sisters. I knew, I felt like these were them, which I loved, and you mentioned perfectly. When Leo finds Paige in Gash, this is where it was. I had a clear understanding of the horror and sadness and hope. All of those emotions I could feel in the description. And it was really a quite moving scene. And actually, reading that, I remembered feeling that same way back when I read this the first time.
Oh, see, that's how you know.
It took me back. I'm like, yeah, that was always a really nice scene. Oh my gosh.
It means that the writing, however it evoked that some kind of universal thing that both your 13-year-old self and 34-year-old self. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Whenever Paige spoke in her essenceless state, was pretty hysterical to me too. It's pretty much Leo in San Francisco, how he was in that. That's how Paige was when she was like not herself. Like, it was really funny. One thing to note is Paige's friend was most certainly killed, and she didn't seem to care. Everybody in that P3 was probably dead.
That's right. Yeah, she went out with her friend. Was it Sarah?
Yeah.
That's
dark. She's like, Christmas morning, everybody.
Yeah, but that's kind of like one of those things that's like, when you watch enough TV or movies, sometimes I feel like stuff like that
they glossed over
it.
Yeah.
That's particularly, you're like, haha.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like just thinking like, oh yeah, poor Sarah.
Well, she was a plot device. She was just to move it forward, right? Like
right.
But yeah, that's kind of funny.
Put that in my canonical hat.
Canonical.
I didn't mention this, but Paige was drinking water at the club.
Okay.
Which is perfect because she doesn't drink. That's a character thing that she has. She doesn't drink alcohol because she used to be an alcoholic. In the very first episode, she's like, I used to have a problem with certain.
So that's
liquids.
like a
character trait. Yeah.
Very. Oh, see that just shows the writers paying attention.
Yeah, and she was drinking water at the club, and I imagine it because a lot of times in these episodes they're drinking that Perrier water, that little glass green bottle. I was thinking of Perrier water that she was drinking in the club, like I just want to dance. I didn't understand how Paige was the one home doing the chores, because at this point she has a job. Phoebe was the one that didn't have a job at this point.
Why, that's interesting.
You know, why is she home alone? Because Piper and Phoebe are all on Paige for not doing chores and stuff. It's like, I feel like Phoebe should have been more sympathetic of that because exactly what Prue was doing for her in Power of Two.
Yeah.
She's like, you're home all day, you need to do these chores. And Phoebe's like, you're putting too much on my plate, So it's.
But I also think that's a thing that they don't realize they're doing as it's happening. They're like, oh, oops, I'm being like my older sister.
Yeah,
or...
that's true.
But wait, you said Phoebe didn't have a job at this point, right?
No.
So where was she? Why did they get home at the same time?
Oh, they said Phoebe was at a computer class.
Oh,
She was taking a web design class. But then again, Phoebe was graduated by this point. She graduated in season 3 from college.
Doesn't mean she can't take a web design class.
I guess true, but yeah, I guess
audit. But I don't know. That's I always think it's funny in shows in TV when both the characters arrived home at the same time.
Yeah,
they wouldn't. There'd be no unless they were carpooling.
Yeah,
like no.
Leo reminds us that love is the trigger for his power, and they reference love hurts power switching.
Okay.
So that was a cool thing to know. There's only one spell in this story.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Prue.
It's the to vanquish, knock, and bring back the sun. Power of 3 spell.
Mm-hmm.
We call on the powers of goodness and light. Take this demon from our sight. End this mystical evil night. Bring back the day. Set time to right.
I think I like that one better than the other ones that I've heard.
It is kind of similar to the Woogieman spell, a little bit.
Okay, see, you know that better than me.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, I was going to say it sounds like something actually said in the show.
Yeah, because the Woogieman spell, I am light, I am one too strong to fight, return to dark with shadows spell. Can I have this Halliwell?
So, do you feel like that was a nod to that spell, then?
I don't know. I mean, it's possible.
Because it seems that she's... I'm assuming she actually watched the show then.
Go away and leave my sight and take with you this endless night. And this says, end this mystical evil night.
See, there's that makes me feel more like it's a nod to it than like trying to be...
very, So, interesting. But it's very similar, very cool. I like that spell.
Or it's just like, when she's writing it, she wants to make it sound like something you would hear. And the best way to do that is to kind of take the format of a spell that was in the show.
Last story.
Woohoo.
It's by Laura J. Burns again, the lady who did the first one. Imbolc. Imbolc. And this is the Piper story. So Piper is taking a week off from work and is excited that she may be pregnant. Oh, she thinks she's pregnant. So Piper tells Phoebe and Paige that Imbolc is tomorrow. And Paige has a cold. She's like, I'm sneezing. I got a cold. I got to take some stuff. Piper has Phoebe make acorn wands, and Paige makes corn husk dolls, but neither have any clue what they mean. Piper's like, hey, and I think it's so funny that everybody's story, they're always expert at the Sabbath they're talking about, but then they're never expert at anybody else's. Because like Paige is like, I've been learning about Yule, and Phoebe was like, I was going to teach you about sound, and now Piper's like, oh, I know all about this.
Yeah,
like,
right. They each have their expertise.
The only ones on this who knows this.
The other ones are absolutely clueless. But that's just like a writing thing. Like we were teaching the audio, or we're teaching the reader this.
Exactly.
But
Piper explains that Imbolc is when the maiden Brigid gives birth to the sun, a metaphor for the return of spring. Phoebe just thinks it sounds like Groundhog Day, and she and Paige balk at the holiday and leave. Like, oh, whatever, we don't need to celebrate that, do we? We're fine.
Is that even in character to them? Would they
save that thought?
Okay, yeah, I should have.
Piper wonders what having a magical baby will be like. She's like, oh, Leo is a whitelighter. I'm a witch. We're going to have a baby. Oh, the baby.
Well, they already know what a half whitelighter would be like.
Yes. Right. So, but this is a baby.
Yeah, baby.
So it's like, she looks at Paige a lot in this book. So she thinks about Paige a lot. So she thinks Paige's problems are going to be her problems with the child.
I see. Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
So think that a baby could orb out of the womb.
Oh, that would be weird. Leo orbs in and plans on taking Piper on a romantic getaway later this month for Valentine's, because this is like February 2nd.
Well, I figured because they were talking about spring coming, so it must have been later.
The next morning, Paige says hi to Piper, and then orbs back to bed. She's like, hey, good morning. I'm going back to bed. I'm sick. Only this time she accidentally orbed into her old apartment where she lived before she lived into the manor. She's like, I'm back in my old apartment. How'd I get here? All right, cool.
But once she figured it out, she can just like leave.
I'm going to orb back. She's like, it's not working. Why aren't I orbiting back? So she orbed there and she couldn't orb back.
Oh, that sucks.
So she's looking around. She's like, I think a smelly guy lives here. So the smelly guy seems to live here now. She's like, I'm going to try to orb back, but I failed. So she's like, I'm going to look around, and she finds a phone. She calls Piper from Mr. Smelly's phone. She's like, Piper, can you come pick me up? I can't, or I'm at my old apartment. I can't orb back home. I don't know what's wrong with my powers. She's like, okay, just, come get you. And then Paige tries to sneak out, but she's like, has a creaky floor. She's like, and then she looks around, and she's stopped by the guy, and it's like this sexy muscle guy in a towel, in a Star Wars towel. And he had a baseball bat. So she's like, first Paige is like, she looks at her and she's like, okay, bye. So then Piper arrives at the manor with Paige. She picked her up. She's like, go back to bed. She contacts Leo and Phoebe, but they're preoccupied. She's like, we need to talk about what happened with Paige's powers just now. This was weird. Just then Piper hears a scream, and she goes up to her room, and she's like, Paige isn't there. She's like, what the hell? And so she gets another call, and Paige is now stuck in her middle school, surrounded by these students, these little children. Which is, I think is cool, because we never saw Paige that young. We never saw any of her history before her high school, so that was kind of a cool thing. She's like, oh my gosh, my 7th grade health teacher is still here. So that was pretty kind of funny. And apparently, she calls Piper, she's like, I'm here now, but then she orbed somewhere else. She's been inadvertently orbiting around the city all day, and she can't control it.
Like cosmic interference.
Yeah, it's very strange. So she's like making it difficult for Piper to pick her up. She's like, you need to find a place and just like close your eyes and stay there, because I'm not gonna be able to get you if you keep orbiting around town.
You know what it makes me think?
What?
Is, so if any of the charmed ones are tired, do their power, you know how like when we're fatigued, your muscles don't react right. You don't react right to things. So do your powers, are they the same thing?
Right.
That's making me think.
I mean, they always say your powers are tied to emotions, but it's also probably a physical thing. Your physical health.
I mean, your emotions are also tied to your physicality.
Yeah, it's all related.
Yeah. Anyway,
Piper calls for Leo to tell him about Paige, and he orbs into the car with her, and he's like, hey, I have another charge now. I'm really busy. I have another person to protect who needs me. He's like, okay, well...
I feel like that's a fun way to just write him out, so he's not helping.
Yeah. He's like, Piper, what do you want? Okay, well, Piper and Paige finally make it home. She finally got to Paige and got her and brought her home. And now Phoebe is there. She's back from whatever she was doing. And they don't know why Paige can't control her power. Like, what is up with her? And Piper reflects about motherhood again, and she thinks of her mother, Paddie, and how what her baby will be like. Her baby will be like Paige. So she's like, I'm just thinking about my baby. And she, at this point, she's just thinking she's pregnant. She hasn't gotten a test or anything yet. She's just thinking she's pregnant. Like, she's just planning, having thoughts.
There was no mention of it in the show, so obviously this is just something they can write in for the...
Right. I mean, at this point, this is season 4, so they were planning on...
So it does fit in that. Yeah, I couldn't remember when that happened either, but okay.
Yeah, it was kind of fitting in that they were thinking about having kids, and they were trying to have kids in season 4, so...
Okay.
It does make sense there. But Piper has been adding an expansion to P3, so she's having construction workers at P3 going to make a whole new room. And she got a call from the construction crew. They hit a sewage pipe, and they don't do cleanup. So, like, you got to get down here, we hit a pipe, and, it's kind of a leak, messy everywhere. You need to get another crew to clean this up. She's like, you're the ones that did it. Excuse me.
Yeah, I could see that happening in real life.
Yeah, horrible. Yeah. So, now Cole is determined to figure out what's wrong with Paige. Cole is, like, really seems to care. He's like, I want to help. I want to help Paige get over this. So he's like thinking about what he can do. And Paige is still slightly distrustful of Cole, because she's like, he was a demon. It's like, I don't want to leave him alone with the Book of Shadows. Like, he's fine that you date him and stuff, but I just don't really fully trust him. Which is
that's accurate. I was gonna say.
Piper goes to P3, and the crew's just like, yeah, it's your problem. We're not gonna do that. So then she's like, you guys are so stupid. So she freezes them in frustration. She's like, I need to organize my thoughts. But then she realizes that one of the men, Jerry, doesn't freeze. So she's like, oh my god. And then all of a sudden, but then Jerry's like, what's wrong? He's like, oh crap. And he hides behind the bar. And he tells Piper, he's like, I'm a Farsa demon, and my only power is that I can't be frozen. We're pacifist demons. She's like, what the hell? Like, what kind of lame demon are you?
But I would say that could just be some other... They didn't have to call him a demon. Maybe it was just something,
another creature,
magical creature. Like, no.
Yeah, so he's just like, he's like, yeah, we have to like, make money like normal people, and we can't do anything. All we can do is we don't freeze. Whatever's convenient for the story.
Well, they could have just called him like a human that was impervious. To, I don't know.
Right. Or something that somebody,
That's odd.
They could have explained it so many different ways, but yeah. Piper studies the pathetic demon and asked him a bunch of questions. She's like, so you're no threat to me? Okay, well, you're fired. You bother me. Like, you ruined my life with this, like, hitting that pipe, thanks, so. So she didn't vanquish him or anything, but she's just like, be gone, you're useless to me. Cole and Paige find a reveal spell in the Book of Shadows that will reveal your greatest enemy. Or so maybe they think that will reveal to who is messing up with their powers. But before they could cast it, Paige orbed out somewhere else. Piper thinks Paige isn't full witch or full whitelighter, so because she's half and half, she isn't capable of control. She's like, she's not one thing or the other, so she must be weaker than us, and she can't control it.
That doesn't seem like a Piper thing.
It does not seem like a Piper thing, and it bothered me so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into that.
If they were going to do that, they needed to not use her character to say that.
Right.
Too, because she's more like, we can deal with this.
Yeah. So Paige ended up at a drugstore, walks out of the drugstore, and she's like, I need to find a payphone. Where's the payphone? But then this, like, pink cheetah print, leopard print phone orbs her hand that's, like, glittery. She's like, oh, I don't know where this came from, but I'll call Piper on it. Like, I'm outside this drugstore. And then the lady's like, hey, that's my phone! So she was, like, stealing from people on the street. Which was funny. Apparently the whole rest of the afternoon, she's been orbiting objects from people all over the place. She's been orbiting bags and people's watches and stuff. She's like, oh, no. So she got arrested for theft. So
how did they catch her?
Yeah, I don't know. So Leo is ignoring Piper's call. She keeps calling Leo, and he's ignoring her completely. He's not there. And so Piper and Phoebe and Cole, they go to cast the reveal spell. So we need to find out who's doing this. So they cast the reveal spell. But then in the middle of the spell, Piper hears a phone call. She's like, oh my god, I gotta get that. And so she leaves, but then as she leaves, the door appears in the attic, and the rest of the spell takes place, and Phoebe and Cole are there just to, like, deal with it. And guess who flew out of the door in the attic? But Jerry, that fires the demon that didn't freeze. Yeah. He appears out of the attic. So you're like, oh my gosh, is he really behind this? Is he, like, trying to trick Piper? So I'm like, okay. But Jerry says, like, I'm actually pretty useless. I'm like, and Cole agrees, like, yeah, they are pretty cowardly. He's like, hey! But they keep him there because they still need to figure him out and why he appeared there. Piper went to the police station to bail Paige out, but she finds that she already orbed away out of jail. Yeah. Piper then talks to Paige on the phone and is essentially othering her. You can't. You're half whitelighter, half witch. You're not really one of us. You need to figure out. So it's like, it was so... I was bothered. I was really bothered. Phoebe has homework for school. This is a psychology assignment, which she already graduated in psychology, a degree. So maybe, I don't know. That's the thing where, yeah.
Yeah.
But she has a psychology assignment. And
well, I mean, she might still need to write a paper for something. But you know how, like, sometimes, if you have certain jobs, people will say, I'm doing home. I mean, I know I'm reaching
stretch,
here.
But yeah. So I was just like, yeah, she's not in school, but it's fine. But Jerry seems to help her with her homework. He's like, hey, I got you. I'll help you out. And they, like, kind of write the paper together. And she kind of has a nice little friendship with Jerry. She's like, yeah, he's actually pretty cool.
All right.
And now the sisters are together. Piper eventually got Paige to the manor, and they're together, and they can't figure out what Jerry has to do with any of this. Like, what does it have to do with Paige's power as he didn't do anything? But then they realized that Piper was casting the spell, and it conjured her greatest enemy. And because Jerry was the source of her P3 problem, she was like, he is my greatest enemy because I conjured this, was doing the spell. They're like, oh, great. So they don't think he's a threat, but to make sure, they cast a truth spell on him to make sure he's not a threat. But he does admit that he's like, I am responsible for the sewage cleanup. I just didn't want to pay for it. I don't want to do it. She's like, aha!
That's funny. Because I can actually hear something like that going down in...
Right, that's a Piper thing.
Yeah.
And this is when Piper fears that she shouldn't have kids if it means that they will never have control of their powers and lives. It's like, Paige is just... She's a mess, and my baby is going to be just like that. We can't, ever...
Okay.
So this is where she's like, you know what? I've always wanted to have a child, and now I think I'll have one. On toast! Hocus pocus. Anyway, so she goes to P3 to be alone. She's like, I can't handle this. I'm never going to have children now. So this time Paige orbs P3, but she didn't do it on purpose, but she orbs P3. And they have Piper and Paige have a nice little talk. Piper tells her that she thinks she might be pregnant. This is the first time she ever told anybody. She's like, and Paige is like, oh my gosh. She hasn't had a chance to get a test yet, so she doesn't know for sure, but she's like, okay. And then Paige begins to cry because she's afraid that she's broken. She's like, oh no. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with me, and especially since Piper is all about like telling her all these things. Mm-hmm. You're getting all this feedback that's like making somebody feel bad for themselves.
Yeah, Piper reaffirms things. That's why I don't feel like her character is done right in this.
Yeah, and then Piper feels like an idiot now. When she realizes that, you know what, it's actually your cold medicine. You just started taking these medicine, and that's when your powers got wonky. It's not you, it's the cold medicine. Oh, I'm so stupid, Paige. I'm sorry. Oh.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, they made her drowsy and it was affecting her powers. And she's like, yes, just don't take the cold medicine anymore.
So it's kind of what I was talking about.
Right.
Then. That's funny.
Yeah.
An interesting idea.
Yeah. So that night, Leo apologizes because he was trapped with in a demon's lair with one of his charges. He's like, I couldn't come. I was trapped in a lair. No big deal. That was a stupid thing to say.
How they're writing him so he isn't helpful.
Right.
Like they're like, oh God, he could help. How do we write him out of this?
This big problem he had, and we weren't there to help him now. Like, oh.
Actually, no, that's what I was going to ask earlier.
Yeah.
Another whitelighter could help the charmed ones, right? They're assigned to specific people, but he could just say, I'm working on this. This whitelighter will help you with this, right? They can do that.
Right. They do it. They move people around all the time. That's when they brought Natalie down.
See, that's what I thought, and I'm like, well, why is this an issue at all?
Yeah, and they made Chris their whitelighter for a while, and so yeah.
So for Leo to say, hey, I need to leave, but then no one else can come in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm thinking about. This author doesn't have a grasp on certain aspects of this show or the characters.
Right.
And again, I don't know if that's her fault. I'm guessing it was just she had to pen this, but
and then Piper found out that she wasn't pregnant, but they plan on making it happen soon.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that one. Did you have any final thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, I was actually saying most of my thoughts.
Overall, I thought this was an okay story. Like,
I actually do like the idea of the power of their powers getting messed up by something like that.
Right. Overall, I thought this was an okay story. I didn't love it. It was a nice change of pace that there was no like big bad, which I thought.
Yeah,
was cool.
I do like that. I feel like even in new shows, it always has to be some big bad.
Right.
Why can't you just have a smaller, isolated?
This was just another little
simple
problem.
Yeah.
So it was kind of refreshing. I do feel like Paige's powers on the Fritz got stale. Like they had the jokes and it was funny for a little bit, but then I'm like, I get tired of it. It happened too often.
That's something that I'm not getting you summarizing, so I wouldn't know. But or maybe get more creative with what's happening to them. Not just she's orbiting everywhere, but like
back and forth through the manor. I'm like, I'm over it. So it was funny for a few moments, but I did get
also
tired of it.
She's taking whatever Sudafed, I don't know
whatever she's
taking. Why is it affecting all that? I mean, shouldn't there be like temporary reprieves from anything happening? Like you take the meds, it goes wonky maybe for a bit, then it stops, and then you take them again.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess because she was like constantly taking it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know that either. When you were reading it, I don't know if they mentioned anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, I see what you mean by like if they keep doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I do love the insight we get on Paige's childhood. I mentioned that. Mm-hmm. And Leo is gone the whole story. This is very... Okay, we're going to get into it with Leo. I find it very stupid to have multiple charges at once. I feel... Because they do. But I feel like one whitelighter should be assigned to one charge.
Yeah.
If you have all these whitelighters, give either one charge or one family unit.
I was under the impression they never had enough.
Right.
But that's not true, right?
No, there's so many whitelighters, it seems. So I don't know. It's
yeah, because if you really think about it, these are just people that have passed on. They would have enough.
Yeah.
That okay, I'm assigning you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if their goal is to protect these witches from demons, they should have someone with them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
On call all the time, and for them to have to like juggle their time between different charges, that's not going to be very protecting of them.
No. You know what makes me wonder if they do that, because in the show it was actually not getting rid of evil, but making sure good and evil are balanced. Mm-hmm. So do you think that they're doing that purposely so that good and evil are always...
Well, here's my thing. How does it make sense to overwork a whitelighter? But then I'm like, others are dicks.
They are. Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. Others are dicks. And Leo was only shown to have multiple charges when it was convenient. You know, he had Daisy, and he had that French chick in Siren Song where he had to go. He's like, oh, I gotta go my other charge, and I speak French. Which is also funny because earlier in season 3, he says, Champ Saucisse, because he can't speak French, but in this one he speaks French with his charge. He speaks French, so I guess the thing that maybe because they speak whatever their charges are speaking, but they don't necessarily know it, they don't retain it.
Yeah, I was assuming it was like a universal translator.
Yeah. So maybe it's just they just speak it at the time when they're asked, but they don't always know. So that's kind of fun. But continuity error in that a little bit. But if you can make it make sense. But yeah, elders are dicks. And there's a part where they say Cole is cooking at a homeless shelter to make amends for his evils. I don't buy that at all. I do not buy that.
That's such a ham-fisted thing to force in the...
Yeah. I'm like, that's not Cole's character. No. He would help with the legal trouble. You know, if he's going to be good, he's going to help.
Because he was a lawyer.
He was a lawyer. So he'd help like legal people. He did go save a lady from a fire to get, you know, he's like, look, Phoebe, I saved someone from a fire. But to go help feed people,
no,
that's not. It's so mundane and so trivial. It's not Cole's style. He wants recognition for his.
He wants recognition. He wants something big. So he would help with the legality of that shelter, or the maybe class action lawsuit with the people who aren't being fed. Yeah, that's true. But see, that all goes back to my point about not quite having an understanding of the characters in the world. New writer. Do you know? Do the writers pitch to them? Do they? I was wondering if you knew any of that.
I know that she does write books later on, so I'm curious to see what her books later will be like.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm not so impressed with her. I did find Piper's thoughts on motherhood and concern about what it meant for her mother to be valid. Like, that made sense. We see that on the show with Prue, too, because Prue was also worried about being like her mother and dying young and stuff like that. Piper rationalizing that being half and half is detrimental is BS to me.
She would never. She would see the how that's a good thing.
Right. And I feel that it's also insulting and ignorant and like...
Yeah, which is not Piper.
No. Like, her concern is coming from a good place. And I get that, but it was so bigoted. Like, the way it was so...
I feel like it would be more in tune with her character if she said she was concerned how she would be treated because she was half whitelighter, half witch.
But Piper was so othering her this whole book. She's like, oh no, you're at a disadvantage. You're disabled. You know, you're like...
Yeah, that would not be the thing at all. She'd be more worried about how other people would treat her.
I couldn't stand it. And so the thing is, Piper wouldn't even consider there could be any other explanation. She's like, oh yeah, it's because of your genetics that you're messed up. Like, she would just automatically say that's her, and she's not even thinking any other option.
Yeah, no.
That made me mad. And it's because it's very... It's like being a bi guy.
Yeah.
Because, like, I am... wholly bisexual. I'm not half gay and half straight. Yeah. I am a whole medley of different parts that make me a full person.
Which I never got. I mean, even when you said you were bisexual, which I remember going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a big deal to me, but I realized, oh no, it was for you because you're opening up to all the people about it. But so your partner's a man, but I know you still like women. It's not like you like women and women, right?
Yeah.
It's like you know what I actually thought about this is if I dated a blonde girl, doesn't mean I don't like brunettes.
Right.
It's the same thing. So it's always been really weird that it would force you to pick a side, in quotes. Again, they can't see that, but no.
So I'm like, Paige being a hybrid should make her more powerful because her potential for understanding is greater.
Yeah. And Piper would understand this as well. She would be fully supportive of that.
Right.
Just worried about the bigotry, not being a bigot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time that I could even see anything remotely like that is in Charmed Again, where she's like half-breed, where she says that to her. That's the only thing that's close to this kind of Piper, but otherwise, no. So I really I kind of felt heated reading this, and I felt like almost personally attacked by this.
Well, it's the same when people are biracial.
Yeah, right.
They'd probably feel exactly the same thing that's happening there.
Could the story be considered canon?
Canonical.
I feel like there's just on the character there's too much contradictory.
Yeah.
But
we did talk about how if it was in character for Paige and Phoebe to be so blasé about the Sabbats, like, I don't want to do that. And the thing is, Phoebe was super excited about being witches and the autumnal equinox in season 2, episode 1, when she's like, oh, we're gonna see this witch and we're gonna get naked, and she was all about the Sabbath then. And then in season 5, Paige she had a genuine knowledge and interest on this very Sabbath, Imbolc, in the Day the Magic died when Wyatt was born.
Yeah.
So they were very excited about those stuff. They would not balk at this stuff.
Yeah.
So that was, I didn't buy their disinterest.
But stuff like that always feels like it's a device for the writing to move forward, or plot to move forward, or whatever. Or in the case, you need to create conflict with characters, right? And how do you do it?
And I put Paige sneezing and orbing is very reminiscent of her in Centennial Charmed when she orbed. She fell in the water, she got a cold, and she sneezed orbed out into the into the Cole's alternate dimension thing. Oh, one thing I did like in this book, Paige ended up orbiting like a famous painting to her hands, like from a museum. And she's like, I remember loving painting as a kid, and that's when she orbed the painting. I'm like, that is on par because we did learn she was an artist in the show. So I'm like, okay, that was a cool little thing to tie in. And then they do a truth spell in this book, but it's not the truth spell from the show. They could have just used the truth spell from the show, and they made a whole new truth spell.
Did they even need to do that?
No. Wyatt's birth was February 2nd, 2003, and it's like the day after Imbolc. So his birthday is around this time. Okay. And so that's kind of a fun thing to note, too. Festival of Lights. But we'll read the spell.
Wonderful, witty, but wordy. I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
To reveal an unseen enemy. Unseen, unknown though he be, he shall be revealed to me. All the elements you we ask, let our enemy be unmasked. I don't know. That's fine.
Yeah, like, again, when you're reading a lot of these spells, I don't feel one way or another.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good sign in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it works. It does the job. But this truth spell, powers that be, join with me to show the truth for all to see.
What was the one from the show?
The one from the show is, for those who want the truth revealed, open hearts and secrets concealed from now until it's now again, after which the memory ends. For those who are not in this house will hear the truth from others' mouths.
See, that's so much.
And I just did that for memory people.
Yeah, I as soon as I asked you, I knew you were like, we used to do that with you, and we were like, "Hey, what happened in this episode?" And like you would do the entire scene, like you recited it without even looking at it, because you knew them by heart.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I think I'm just lucky that I'm blessed with a good memory too.
Yeah, mine is not so good anymore. But well, I think that works for you because you do theater.
It does.
It's second nature for you because it's your job in a way.
Yeah, it's a mixture of the memory and then just the passion to have that. I'm all in it all the time, so it's like in me.
Yeah.
So that's that one. That's it. So we finished all 3 stories. Do you have a favorite story?
Well, from how it's summarized, and obviously there's a bias here, but it was that second one.
Yes.
Just because even with you summarizing and explaining the characters, that fell in line with the show. That middle one, a strong story. The characters all felt like they do from the show. But like I said, these other ones, I don't want to just knock them because I haven't read them, but they needed retooling to work. Mm-hmm. Conceptually, there's good stuff in there, like Paige and her powers getting messed up and things like that. And the first one when they're calling on a Hallowell sister, or sorry, ancestor.
Yeah.
And interesting ideas for TV shows if they ever did it. The characters never felt quite right in the first and the last one, I think.
Yeah, I had problems with the first and the last one. Maybe because I'm in it, but I loved the second one so much. I thought it was so good, and then
even like I said, you're pointing out the characters don't line up with things, and that's what makes this. No matter how bad the writing ever got in the show, or the characters were consistent. They were consistent, and the acting was always, at least with the sisters, was always really strong with them. The chemistry. So when you mess that up, then why are we reading this?
Yeah. So now I'm going to have a Grimoire game for you.
What is this, some kind of game?
Grimoire Game!
Some people think this is entertainment.
I'm going to test your knowledge. It's called...
Stop.
I know.
I haven't in so long, and I feel...
No pressure. This book is called Seasons of the Witch. This game is called Seasons of the Witch. And I'm going to say, which season was this? And you have to tell me kind of which season was it.
Too bad you didn't do this a few years ago.
So, Grimoire Games. I have 15 questions of which season.
Okay.
Some of them may have multiple answers.
You mean like if a demon showed up in one season or another?
Yeah, something like that. So it might have happened more than one occasion. Seasons of the Witch. Which season does Prue learn astral projection?
Astral projection?
Yes.
I'm trying to think when they all learned their second. 3?
2.
2? Damn it. I was thinking 2 at first. I was like, yeah, it was later.
Season 2, episode 9, Ms. Hellfire. She learns it. Which season does Chris first appear?
I don't know. 5.
5, correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Cool. Okay.
The very last episode in the finale of 5. Oh my God.
So that means if I said 6, I would have...
You've been wrong, yeah.
I would have been wrong, but it would almost been more in line.
I know. It's your question because he's in all of 6, but he actually appeared in season 5.
Tricky.
Uh-huh. Tricky. Anyway, which season is Paige a redhead?
I want to say 5.
5, correct.
Yeah.
Dang. Which season does Piper learn molecular combustion?
3.
3, yes.
See, it's really weird is I only knew that context because for some reason I thought 4, but you mentioned it, or we talked about it earlier, and I'm like, okay, no, she knew it by then.
Mm-hmm. Which seasons is the charmed one shrunk?
Shrunk?
Yeah.
6? Is this
multiple.
one that's multiple?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw 6 out there because that...
Nope, it's not.
That's
6.
not even one of them.
Not
okay,
one of them.
I don't even.
Season 4.
Is it bad? I can't think of.
Yeah, season 4. Size matters with Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund.
Okay.
He shrinks them down.
I don't remember them getting shrunk down. Is that weird?
Yeah, a little bit. Because it happens 3 times.
Is it really?
So season 4 is the first time. Then in season 7, Scry Hard.
Okay.
Piper and Leo get shrunk and put in the dollhouse.
I think 7 and 8 are the ones I know the least because those are the ones I saw once.
And then that happens again in 8, and they're put in the dollhouse again, and Piper, Phoebe, and Paige are all shrunk in that one. Repo Manor. So, yes.
Yeah.
Which season do we meet Victor?
That's their dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
1,
yes. Episode 3.
Yeah.
Although we get a different actor when he comes back in We All Scream for Ice Cream in season 3.
Because I can see the actor's face.
Yeah.
I didn't know they switched.
Yeah, James Reed is the one you're most familiar with. He played him for season 3 on, but when he first appeared, it was Tony Dennison, kind of a slinky guy. Not really good. Which season ends without the manor door closing?
There's a season where that happens.
Yes, and it pisses me off. It's one of my greatest betrayals of Charmed.
I'm guessing 8 then, or later one, 7 or 8.
6.
6. Okay.
That's the one where the hospital doors are closed. Chris is born and the hospital doors are closed.
Oh, but see, then it's a nod to it.
Yeah, but they didn't have the manor closed, and I'm like, it's not the same. I don't care. It's not the same. I was mad. I was so mad. It still makes me mad to this day. That
you know what? I just realized, of course, it wouldn't have happened in 8. I do vaguely remember that last episode, and it was actually a decent one.
Yeah.
But,
which seasons does Prue die in?
Oh, 3. Wait. She's which seasons does she die? I'm just saying 3 and 4 because it's the in between, right? Oh, unless she dies and comes back. Is there an episode like that? No, I'm just going with she's not technically dead yet at the end of 3. It's like that's what made the cliffhanger crazy. But then they say she's dead at beginning of 4. So I'm just gonna say all of that because I don't know. I feel like this is a trick based on the way you're looking at me.
I didn't count 4 in there, but sure you can do 4. But it's actually 1, 2, 3.
Does she die in all of them?
Yeah. She dies once per season, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah. In Power of 2, when she drinks the potion to turn into a ghost.
Okay, never mind. I see what you mean. Yeah, I was like, it is a trick because I thought you meant like
dies
dead.
Yeah. Piper, Phoebe, and Paige die 9 times the entire series. So, Prue dies 3 times. She dies in Power of 2. She dies in Be Careful What You Wish For when the dragon demon kills her and they have to use the genie to bring her back.
Oh,
see, Stewart.
The thing is, because I like the character a lot. It's see, when you put it that way, it makes the fact that she dies permanently weird, considering they've all died like a bunch of times.
Yeah. Which season is the Truth Spell cast? Seasons,
you
I should say.
Just I don't know, seasons 1.
1. Yep. There's another one.
They do it more than. Do they do it every season?
No.
They only do it one other time. I can't even make a guess. Just 2.
It's 1 and 5.
1 and 5.
Prue cast it in The Truth Is Out There and Hurts to find out if Andy would accept if she's a witch. Yeah. And Paige cast it in Necromancing the Stone.
They really only did it twice?
Yeah.
I feel like that's something they would have done more.
I know. Crazy. Which season is the Source first vanquished?
The Source is first vanquished in 5, I think.
4.
Is it 4? Wow, was it really that early? I feel like it was later, because I knew it wasn't obviously 3, but didn't they do it again in a later season where it was just an episode? Like maybe season 7 or 8. Yeah. I was like, wow. But that just showed it showed how powerful they got as witches with the Source. Now they can just vanquish it in an episode.
Yeah. The first time he was vanquished was in Charmed and Dangerous, season 4, episode 13.
You know what's weird is the Source was this big bad, and it felt like he lasted so many seasons.
Right. But, I mean, because he was talked about early on too.
He was. I really actually liked that build up of that because I always, when I was watching the show as it aired, it was always something that they're never gonna get to that because he's essentially the devil. He's like the worst of the worst. So when they actually killed him off, I was like,
well, it's going to be bigger than that, yeah.
Yeah. It was, I don't know.
Yeah. Which season does not include Patty?
There's actually a season without her. Probably 8, 7. No, because they would have had to 7. I don't know.
6.
God damn. I'm getting those 3 like.
I know.
I realized no, she would have been in the last one because they wanted to bring her back because it was the last season. But
and do you remember in season 7, Cheaper by the Coven, where they bring Victor and Grimes and Patty all back? Which is
I do. So I'm moving around 6 and 7 a lot.
Yeah, season 6 she didn't appear at all. So
okay.
But yeah, interesting. Which season does Paige learn to heal on her own?
On her own. 6. I don't know. It's later on. Right?
8.
Okay, that's really late.
Yeah, she didn't learn until 8. Not until episode. What was it 14? No.
Is that the season Kelly
12.
Cuoco came on?
Yeah.
Okay.
She learns in Payback's a Witch is when Paige learns how to heal on her own for the first time. She helps Leo heal. She learns her own trigger of love and
she's able to heal in 8.
Yeah.
So she never does any healing before that.
No, not on her own anyway.
I should say on her own. So when did she first do it with Leo then?
Her first episode. So my half could offset his half. So Leo takes her hand and they both heal Cole together.
See, then maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Because it was earlier on.
Yeah, it's right her first episode where she does that. So
that would have been 4. So
which season guest stars Imhotep and Giselle?
Shit, thinking 2 or 3. I'm not sure.
2. Yeah, I'll count that. 2. Yay!
Yeah.
Which season do we see Daryl for the last time?
Daryl? 7.
7, yes.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if it was 6 or 7, but I know that he was basically the budget kind of cut. He was one of the ones that was dropped.
Mm-hmm. And then, which season is Kevin's favorite?
Yours?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm guessing 3.
3, yes, that's my favorite season.
It's probably my favorite too. 2 and 3 are really close. The thing I liked about 1 and 2 were a lot of Monster of the Week type, which I actually really enjoyed those. But when you started getting overarching stories, I feel like that was around 3 when you started getting the Cole thing, and that's really where it hit its stride on that.
All right, so that's the end of that. Now the last final thing is tips for future whitelighters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
And that's where we think of a moral of the story from this book.
From this book, I should say, with this one, when you're describing when they're all turning into husks, like that's really just a powerful image in itself. Yeah, that would be one of those. So
don't take your moments for granted. Type of thing.
It has that. I know it's always corny, but like that whole power of love, enduring things. Actually, I want to see what about you?
My take on all the stories. I said I'm going to quote Charmed here.
Okay.
Your power comes from your emotions.
Yeah. Okay. That's
yeah. Trust them, acknowledge them, let them fuel you. Because like me, like these books put me on a roller coaster of emotions. Like I hated things, I was angered, I was enjoyed, I laughed, I had highs and lows all over. But I'm grateful for all of them because they remind me that I'm alive and I am a human, and it's.
See, you're going on. You're not even talking about like specifically.
No,
this is just an overall of your experience with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I've been watching and doing a lot more things. If I'm a fan of something, like just say Jurassic Park, I'm reading the extended universe type stuff. This kind of falls in line with that same thing. Like,
yeah, definitely.
There's this always a bigger world than what you're shown. There's just always so much more to any of it.
Nice. So that's the end. I know this is a little bit longer than usual, but
that's because it's us.
Yeah, we did stuff. Did you have any place that you want people to find you, or
like I actually don't remember what my Instagram is. I think it's just my name, right?
Yeah.
At Stephen Eifler.
Cool.
Instagram. And that's STEPHEN, the way you're supposed to spell Stephen, and EIFFLER.
We can find this podcast at Words of the Witches on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or Words of Witches on Twitter. Email me at wordsofwitchespod@gmail.com, or follow my personal one at KGZ87. And if you really want more charm, you can follow my other podcast, Hanging Out with the Hallowalls, with my friend Sean, where we're watching through season 6 through 8. We're in the middle of 7 right now, having a good old time because he's a newbie. He's never seen it before. So.
Ooh, that's got to be fun.
Yeah. So we're having a good time with that.
Do you ever bother him by quoting it, or do you have to hold yourself back?
I mean, we have a hoot on that. You'll enjoy it if you listen.
Okay, I'll have to listen to it because that's always fun.
Because we're a wild, rambunctious pair. It's great. So yeah, check that out if you feel like doing that. In the meantime, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in, and your destiny still awaits.